Hello once again, Star Wars and Unboxing fans. Welcome to another episode of Darth Tuba's Star Wars Unboxing Show. I'm your host, Darth Tuba, and today I'm going to do a little bit of a project that I wanted to share with you guys, and it involves these little guys. Okay? Now, some of you might look at these and say, oh, I know these. These are the Micro Machine action figures from 1982. Actually, it was Star Wars Micro Collection, which is the actual thing. Came out and with Empire Strikes Back, and you would be dead wrong. These are not those, although they're pretty much at the same size. These are actually something very different. This is something that came out in the 90s during the dark times, as they say, when Star Wars was not really very popular and therefore not much going on. These are actually metallic figurines from West End Games, okay, which is the first Star Wars role-playing game that took place. And West End Games is actually something that gets a lot of credit for really helping to explode the Star Wars universe, okay, and expand it. All the different characters. This is where we started to name things. Like, for example, this little guy, who I believe is Snaggletooth to us Kenner collectors. This little guy. Oh, nope, that's not Snaggletooth, my bad. I think it's actually a Celestian. I think that's like Nine Num. It just looked a little short to be Nine Num, but then again, there you go. He didn't really have a name until Kenner gave it a name, okay? And that's what West End did with all the characters. Like, for example, Zutton. The name Zutton is what they gave to Snaggletooth, okay? And Moma Hedon is what they gave Hammerhead, that kind of thing. Ponda Baba for Walrus Man. And West End Games created backstories for all of these characters. And in addition, they came out with these West End 10 packs of figures. And there'd be things like this, where it might be 10 pack of Endor characters, 10 pack of maybe Emperor's Guards or Emperor's Troopers. Okay, and there would be a bunch of these. Now, these all came metallic, no color. They were just metal, okay? And during my college years, this was like a little hobby I would do in my room, is I would just take some Estes paints, and I would actually paint them a little at a time. Now, I'm not an artist. I don't claim to be. But I thought, for the most part, they held up pretty well. Okay, it was a great thing. It was something that kind of centered me while I was in high school, or actually really in college, to kind of keep me balanced, which, doing something like this. And there were quite a few. Okay, I have quite a few off camera here. I'll throw out a couple more for you to see. Here's a squid head, or Aqualesh, I believe. And as you can see, I did my best with detail. So I have a lot of these, and when I say a lot of these, I mean a lot. Okay, I think there were roughly 100 or so. There was 10 or so collections. And remember, this came out at a time where there was no Star Wars action figures coming out. This is pre-Power of the Force 2. This is all there was. Okay, like 89, 90, 91, around that time. So I worked on this, and now they've pretty much been gathering dust in a little Ziploc, and I'm looking to consider ways to display this. So I've come up with a way that I think would be a really cool thing. So I was going to put this project together. And by the way, this is a great way. You could utilize this same thing for Micro Machines, even though they're a little bit smaller. If you wanted to display your Star Wars Micro 1980s collection, you can do that as well. So I'll show you what I'm doing with that. Okay, so what we have here is essentially, I'm not sure the proper name, but I believe it's called a printer's drawer. And essentially this is from old-fashioned printing, where you would have this little drawer and this little cabinet with all these little drawers, and the drawers would have the little typeface letters and different sizes and whatnot. So to me, this looks, while people use these, and they actually will put them on display just as is, with their old kind of damaged old wood charm, okay? and put all sorts of things like thimbles and very small knick-knack collectibles in there to kind of show it. For me, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to actually paint this one solid color, probably black. I'm thinking black. And, you know, I was going to do something like a star field, but now I'm thinking that right now it makes more sense to just let it be solid black to bring out the other characters that are going to be on display there. Now, obviously, most of the figures will have no issue fitting in these little sections. I will tell you that there are a handful of figures that are a little bigger, okay, and might require some, we may end up taking like some things like here and here, like actually taking some of these off to actually allow room to display. There's a handful of bigger ones. Actually, in the end, though, there's going to be a few here that are going to be too big. So maybe what I'll do instead is get some small pieces of wood and actually build new shelves and add them here just to kind of help display them. But I can even add that later on. So, all right, so let's do it. Okay, so as you can see, it is a nice, much cleaner look. I did opt, instead of black, to go with an espresso brown. I did this for two reasons. Number one, I wanted to utilize paint that I actually had more of in my possession. Of course, I've done a lot of projects and I have a lot of, half a can of paints here and there. So I thought, since I didn't have a lot of black left, I didn't know if I was going to actually do the whole cover. So I said, well, let me start with this. I did have extra espresso. Let me try this and see if that looks any better. The other reason I thought behind it was that it's closer to the original color, so it just feels more natural. And then thirdly, I just realized another reason is that I have a couple of characters in the metallic figure collection that are black, and I figured this would help them stand out as well as anybody from the other color. So we will see what happens. Now, you can't see it from this angle, but in the back of that corner and of that corner, there are two little hinges, like little loops that you can actually hang. So you can either put two nails or hooks into the wall and just drape them, measure it out and have them hang from that, or you can put a cable, going through like a piece of cabling to connect the two, and then just hang one nail in the center. Okay, I would not recommend utilizing like command strips or anything of that nature, because this has a lot of weight to it, and when you add by itself, and then when you add the figures, it's that much more. And plus, especially if you're adding it to a place like a basement where there might be moisture, it's just going to, anything I've ever done with command strips in my basement has inevitably come off. It might have taken a week, a month, even several months, but it might have come off. So I recommend good old-fashioned nail in the wall. Right now I'm just trying to locate a space in my collection where I can actually hang this, but I'm doing some rearranging. Some people ask, where do you get these kind of things? If you go to any flea market or yard sales, yard sales are tough, because yard sales, you only got to find it from somebody who bought something like this to hang knickknacks and then decided to sell it later on. But when it comes to anything else, flea markets, antique stores, things of that nature, great place to buy them. You should not pay more than between $20 and $40 for something like this. Okay, it's not that rare of an item to find. As you can tell by the thin handle there and the thin drawer, this is probably part of a unit that maybe had 10 of these drawers, maybe more. So you should, just keep your eyes open. I actually found this in the Lakeland antique area in Florida when I was vacationing. So check around, check your local place and see what you can find. All right, so I have this space in the basement in the corner. It's kind of an unfinished space. It's actually where some of my well and water softener stuff is located, but it's got a nice blank wall here. One of these days, I'm actually going to take this wall, take everything off and paint this wall. Just didn't happen yet. But if I pan up, I have a little shelf here, and above the shelf is a nice place to put my really nicely painted printer storage drawer. I actually flipped it upside down. This is actually the top. This is where the handle was. And I actually took the handle off here, just unscrewed it. And I flipped it upside down because it's more of a base. Now, this is not hanging, okay? And again, part of the reason for that is simply the fact that the trying to hang this thing into a cement wall, you end up having to use cement anchors, and they don't always stay. And they, depending on the level of moisture in your basement. So I opted for the easy way out and just kind of had it be more of a leaning thing. Now, what I am going to do is install just some double stick hanging tape on either corner, just so it can stay up against the wood in the back, just to keep it a little bit extra support. Okay, and then it's just putting all the guys on the display. And here is the end result. We have a partially completed or partially filled section. I haven't filled it all the way, as you can see at the bottom. Part of the reason for that, though, is that this is a shelf, so we're probably going to end up putting some things on the front of the shelf, so we kind of would prefer to just use the upper half of this. Now, of course, this wasn't designed for this sort of thing, so you have a lot of dead space here, okay? For those of you who might have more, I would suggest taking small little pieces of scrap wood and basically just gluing them into little sections here, making up your little own cubbies. You can certainly do that. But I'm pretty happy with this. I ended up putting a screw right here into the wood in the back, just to kind of give it some support. The backing tape wasn't really sticking because of the humidity in this space. But as you can see, when you get up nice and close here, if I can get and I showed a few of them earlier in the video. This is a little bit more detail. You can see some of these took a little while. Boba Fett was multicolored. Han Solo. These aren't in any specific order. I know that they were generally in things like Heroes of the Rebellion, the Imperial Soldiers, Imperial Troopers, Rebel Soldiers, Cantina Aliens, that kind of thing. Some of them were a little too big. We got a little Jabba up here who's just a little too big for the cubbies, and Jabba's pet, the Rancor. So he kind of just hangs out on the side. So, again, these will also work with Micro Machine figures. You might be able to squeeze some Lego people in some of these, although I think they might be a little bit too big left to right, but you'd have to check it out. But yeah, pretty happy with it. And as I said, I was able to utilize this shelf space, and we'll put some stuff over here eventually that will kind of set up in front of it. So that's good. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out all my other videos. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button, all that other jazz. Check me out on Instagram and Twitter at Darth Tuba. Also, the War of the Stars podcast, which can be found anywhere podcasts are released. And until next time, I'm going to get some more lighting here, by the way. I'm going to put maybe a strip light right above here so it can shine better. But until next time, may the Force and the toys be with you.